My name is Greg Forney. This is the IBA virtual clinic, starting them off right, teaching fundamentally sound jazz drum set. Wish we could be doing this in person, asking questions, interacting, demonstrating. It is what it is. We're making the best of the situation, adapting, doing what we can. I would really like to thank IBA President Jason Girth for his outstanding leadership, helping us get through this and making this clinic happen. Okay, with jazz drumming, we need to use the same basic techniques that we learn in band. Our drummers should be able to read, and obviously there's some excellent jazz drummers, rock drummers out there that can't read, but if the students can read, they're going to understand and learn rhythms quicker. So teach them to read like you would like you should be doing in band. Teach them technique. I definitely recommend working on rudiments, but technique basically is just, the mechanical skill of what we can play. So start off with single strokes, double strokes, multiple bounce or buzz strokes. All the rudiments are basically made up of single strokes and double strokes, combinations. So if you're not familiar with rudiments, get in, study them. There are many great videos out there explaining methods out there, but the rudiments are important. They are the scales of drumming. That's everything we play is built on rudiments. So reading, technique, musicianship, and then specifically now for jazz drumming, playing the drum set. Students should be able to play good time, they should be able to play good fills or solos and fit them together. Everything has to fit together within the tempo, the style, the form of the song. So what we're going to do in this clinic, we'll start off with the jazz ride pattern and make sure with each of these things we master this, work it out before we go on to the next thing. We need to take baby steps. A lot of students, teachers too, probably want to jump ahead, and it doesn't pay. So if we can play that jazz ride pattern and then we start developing our solo fills, I advise using triplets to start. We're not going to stay with triplets all the time, but this is a great way to start. So triplets, I would recommend leading with the right. So I'm going to play right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. That's going to help develop the technique and the coordination. The right hand falls on beats 1 and 3, the left hand on 2 and 4. And we start developing the fills. So if we start with the time, start with the triplets, and then as soon as we get those worked out, we put them together. So we play 1 bar of time, 1 bar of triplets, 1 bar of time, 1 bar of triplets. So we're automatically starting off with a 2-bar phrase. So the drummer is feeling in phrases. After you can play some of these patterns, then go back and play 4-bar phrases. So 3 bars of time, 1 bar of fill or solo. And then 8-bar phrases, 12-bar phrases, etc. Keep in mind, these are patterns we use to get started. I had a young drummer come from quite a distance away a couple summers ago, and we started pretty much basic beginning with jazz drumming, and by the end of the summer he was playing good triplet fills and playing good time and was doing a nice job. And I thought I'd explain to them that we have to play musically. I heard him later in the year at a festival playing with his band, and I was horrified to find him playing a fill or a solo every 4 measures in the music. So you have to let your drummers, your students know that this is an exercise to feel the phrases, but we only use the fills where they fit. And as a director, you have to help them with that. So they have to know the form of the song. It's nice to put a little fill in going from one section to another, but be careful that they don't overfill. We start off with a full measure of triplets in what we're doing. Later on I'd experiment with 2 measures of triplets, but face it, most fills are very short. So later on, after we get the triplets going, I'll demonstrate just playing a 2-note fill, a 3-note fill, and that's really important. So the material that I provided, I'm not sure exactly how it'll come through in the virtual clinic, but I believe there'll be 2 PDF documents. One is more of a text document explaining how we're getting started. That's like 2 pages, and then I think there are like 8 pages of notated what I'm playing. So you have something you can print off and you can give to your students if you want. In the text document, there are links to YouTube videos I've created. I've got a YouTube channel. It's nothing fancy, but it's Greg's Basic Drum Set Lessons. And I would go back and check into those things, because I will give kind of an overview in this clinic, and then there are more lengthy explorations on the techniques. So I hope this helps. I hope this works for you. And please feel free, if you ever have any questions, contact me. My email address is in the IBA directory. I'd be glad to answer questions. I've even had directors and some students that contact me, and I've made a specific YouTube video just to help them get through something. So I can't do that for every little question, but if it's something that I think a lot of directors or students can benefit from, I'll put it out there. So I hope this helps. Thanks for tuning in. We'll start with the basic jazz ride pattern. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now remember, this is just going through a basic overview of things, so I'm going to be moving pretty fast, pretty quickly. I really recommend you go back and look at the individual YouTube links that I have listed, because it gives a pretty in-depth demonstration of how to do this. Basically though, we're looking, the time is being driven in jazz by the ride cymbal and the hi-hat. The bass drum, when it's playing time, is playing very, very softly. The snare drum right now, notice I just left it out. You want to be able to develop playing that on 2 and 4, a variety of things, working on independence. That comes later. But the main timekeeping starts with this. Then we add the bass drum lightly. Now some directors will argue and say, well, no, my drummers play the bass drum too heavy, so I just tell them to leave it out. I don't think that's wise. It's appropriate when you're playing extremely fast tempos, possibly, but the bass drum, the snare drum are going to be ad-libbing and doing different things. But in basic time, we want to have it there. So if you say, my drummer can't control the bass drum, so I'm going to tell them to leave it out, that's like telling a young player, well, you're tonguing too heavily, so just don't tongue at all. I think we need to learn to get that control. So when we're playing all of our patterns now that we're going to be playing the triplet patterns, we want to keep that bass drum going lightly, the hi-hat crisply. Some people say to stomp the hi-hat. I don't believe in that. I don't think you stomp it. You play it crisply, firmly, assertively if you want, but we're not going to stomp it. We're going to play with a lot of force though. So think the bass drum is feathering, so the right foot is having this motion, the left foot is hitting a little harder, so it takes some time to do this. Make sure your drummers work on this. I see students all the time that will try to play things with their hands and they cannot coordinate it with the feet, so they can't really coordinate it with the beat. We want to have that bass drum going. Okay, to start off the triplet patterns, we're going to start with the 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. Again, there's a much more in-depth explanation of this on my YouTube link, Beginning Jazz Triplet Fill. Please look at that. You're going to take some time doing this, but we start off 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. Okay, that's, especially at that tempo, it doesn't sound very hip, very cool, very, modern, and it's not. But it's a great way to start. When we're starting with triplets, we're faced with a number of challenges. Mainly, we're feeling 3s instead of 2s, so the odd number instead of the even number. We're used to thinking 2s and 4s, especially young players. 3s is a little bit different. The 3 then forces us to lead with the right, left, right, left, right, left. So it's great for the coordination. I will use this exercise at the set, even with some non-drum set players, just helping them begin to feel the triplet or the 6/8 pattern, because da, 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 it's an automatic division of 3. Okay, once we get that going, we're going to add the bass drum and hi-hat. So think, the right hand is here on 1 and 3, the left hand is on 2 and 4 here. The hi-hat will line up the left with this pattern. So it's very important to master this before we go on to the other skills. Now I'm going to make a 2-bar phrase. I'm going to play 1 bar of my jazz swing time, but I'm going to end the pattern on 4. So I'm not going to play that last swing 8th note on 4. I'm going to end it on 4 to make it easier to get to my next triplet passage. 1, 2, 3, 4. may want to do that slower yet. 1, 2, 3, 4. Most people, when they're starting this, especially young players, will try to go too fast. Make sure you go slow and steady. As soon as you can, play with the metronome. I use the metronome app on my phone all the time. I really love my Boss Dr. Beat. I like the Dr. Beat because you have so many options for subdivisions and accents and feeling it in 2 or feeling it in 4. I really like it, but I use the Soundbrenner metronome app on my phone, and that's great too. You will need to use earbuds, headphones, or better yet, some sound isolation headphones. I like my Vic Firth sound isolation headphones. They work great. But as soon as you can, start working with that metronome to help develop the skill of playing in time, playing steady. And the metronome's not going to fix any time issues, but what it does, it points out when you rush or drag, and it's really nice to be able to do that. Okay, so after we can play, then I'm going to go to the handout that I prepared for you for this, the supplemental studies. So on page 2, developing jazz fills using triplets, number 1 is just 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. All these exercises that I wrote down and notated for you here are designed to be used with alternating strokes, leading with my right on 1 and 3, the strong beats. So that means right, left, right, left. So I'm dividing this up into 3. So again, I'm feeling the 3s. I'm not using any crossovers at this time. So if I play 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Now I'll put it with my jazz swing time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, number 2 is the same pattern, but instead of going between the 2 tom-toms, it goes between the tom-tom and the snare drum. Again, starting with the right, going to the left, so I'm not crossing over. If I put it with the time, 1, 2, 3, 4. Number 3. Now, instead of divided in 3s, it's divided in 6s. And until you sit down at the drums, you might think, oh, 6s will be easier. But I found with my younger players, 6s is harder than playing just 3s because it's easy to lose where the beat is. So after you can do this, we'll look at number 3 and play. Making sure that the hands line up with the bass drum and the hi-hat. So when I start playing, you may not hear the bass drum. I'm not sure what it'll sound like on your device, your phone, your computer, whatever you're watching on. I think the recording is pretty good, but it's never the same as live. But the bass drum is playing. Da 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 da. Now, notice relaxation, moving around the drums comfortably. 1, 2, 3, 4. Aiming for the center of the drum, keeping the hands fairly flat, although when I'm turning over I will turn my wrist. But relaxed, comfortable, steady. Okay, number 4, it's just 2 beats of triplets here, 2 beats of triplets here, 6 notes here, 6 notes here. 1, 2, 3, 4. With the time, 1, 2, 3. Now remember, these are just tips. These are not rules for all time. We're not going to be always playing triplet fills. We're not always going to be playing one whole measure. We're not going to be playing always in groups of 3 or groups of 6. We're going to break it up. But this is where we start to develop the coordination. I think it's important to take baby steps. So many videos I see or instructional methods I see just take off incredibly complex right away. This is starting simple so your young drummers can handle it and they can start playing right away. So if we look at number 5, now instead of playing groups of 3 or groups of 6, I'm combining. So I'm doing 3, 3, 6. 1 beat, 1 beat, 2 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. Please remember the sticking is important. I'm playing triplets. I'm starting with my right, so it's right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left cymbal. Once again, this is not the way you're going to play forever. This is the way we're playing now to develop alternate sticking. So with the time, this is number 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Number 6 now. We're not breaking up in even groups of 3 or 6. The first triplet is, you might want to play 1 triplet 2. It's important to go slow, but you realize these things can be sped up and they sound pretty cool. So if it's 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet, I'm just, beats 1 and 2 are going to be the same as beats 3 and 4. So 1. And again, that's for just now. This is to start off. So if I play my time, 1, 2, 3, 4. Number 7, it starts off with the same 2 beats as measure 6 or exercise 6, and then the beats 3 and 4 are turned around. So you might want to play putting it together. With the bass drum hi-hat, 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, a little bit slower. 1, 2, 3, 4. With the time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, number 8. I'm playing around like so. Coming back around. So I'm breaking it down into small pieces. So my rules for working these out, or my tips for working these out, break them down, study them, play it slowly, play small pieces, put the pieces together, speed it up, and pretty soon you can work it out. And remember, the exercises that I've notated here, I'm demonstrating, this is just a starting off point to give you some basic technique, basic coordination, basic ideas of what to play, and then we go from there. So number 8, with the bass drum and the hi-hat, 1, 2, 3, 4. Slightly faster with the measure of time. 1, 2, 3, 4. A little slower. 1, 2, 3, 4. Number 9. We're playing around. So 1 triplet, 2 triplet. It's a little more complex, a little more sophisticated because I'm not moving right on the beat. So now that'd be much more interesting if we broke it up and didn't repeat it, but right now we're repeating it just so the student can get the feel of it. So with the bass drum hi-hat, 3, 4. So we're learning some comfortable moves around the drums. Again, aiming for the center of the drum. Hands are relaxed, arms are not stiff. Most of the motion comes from the wrist and somewhat with the fingers. The arms are used more just to move around the drums. I'm not hitting with the arm. Look at the supplemental material that I provided for you, page 3, breaking up the triplet rhythm. So I'm going to play right, right, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, left. And again, this is explained a little more thoroughly in the jazz solo fill variations 2 and 3 on the YouTube links. But with the bass drum hi-hat, the sticking again is extremely important. So at first, discipline, use the sticking. Don't let the students play just whatever they want to play. Later on, yeah, they can play kind of whatever they want to play, but now we're developing a skill. So right, right, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, left. Okay, so that's leaving out the triplet right after 1 and right after 3. If I leave it out right after 2 and right after 4, right, left, right, left, left, right, left, right, left, left. And then the third example is just right, right, left, left, right, right, left, left, which again is like a traditional 6/8 sticking pattern. Now, I'm going to cut through some of these pretty fast on this page, and you get the idea of how to work them out. So the first example the sticking that's indicated here. Number 2 is exactly like number 1, except the right hand is up on the small tom. Number 3, this is where I'll have a lot of private students, and they'll come in and they'll try to do different stickings at first. Right now, just stick with the pattern. So I'm playing right. So the right hand is moving up and around. I think the right hand is making like a counterclockwise motion around the drum. Now, if I play this, listen a little faster. 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, students, I guarantee at first will want to play this with your left, and then everything's turned around. So slowly. Works pretty nice. Look at number 4. Right, right, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, left. Okay, let's look at number 5. So now we're leaving out the right 8th note right after beat 2 and right after beat 4. Tempo. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that will sound instantly better if I only play that pattern once and go on to something else, a new idea. But we repeat the patterns over and over now so we get the feel for it. As I said in the introduction, we started with triplet fills, a full measure of triplets. That's not realistic in music. Most of our fills are going to be very short, 2 notes, 3 notes, just a short little fill marking off the end of one section going on to the next. So in the music notation PDF, page 4, we start off with 2-note fills. Some of these, the stickings, you can do whatever you want. Some are more specific. Those are marked off in the notation. So number one is a short two-note fill. I could play right-left, or I could play left-right. It makes no difference. It's just on the snare drum. Take a listen. 1, 2, 3, 4. Either sticking works. What will not work is if the eighth notes don't flow with the ride cymbal pattern. So when we're playing the ride pattern, that's defining the flow of the swing eighth notes. Our fill has to agree with that interpretation of the rhythm. So listen to this. I'll hear this different times and it just doesn't work. Okay, well I played in 4, but it wasn't in time and in flow of the music. So make sure it flows. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to read through this page and I'll play each exercise twice. In number 5, we start with 3-note fills, and it starts off with 3 and 4, which is pretty straight. 7 and 8, I play, again, a 3-note fill, but instead of starting and ending on the beat, I start and end off the beat, which totally changes the feel. Number 9 starts the 4-note fill, which is a simple triplet fill, and then 12, 13, 14 go with a 5-note fill, which is the triplet fill with just an 8th note pickup. And that 8th note pickup totally changes the feel again. It gives it a nice flow. So here we go. This is page 4. Each exercise twice. 1, 2, 3, 4. Moving on to page 5 of the PDF of notated examples. Before you do this page, I strongly suggest you go to my YouTube video of adding accents to triplet solo fills, because I take quite a bit of time working the student through slow motion, doing the coordination of the accents off the beat. Don't freak out when you see the intro to that. I believe I play just 20 seconds of random accents, and you're not going to play that many accents in a row. But the accents are extremely important to your playing. I seldom play fills or any patterns without accents or dynamic contrast, because to me it's boring. The accents have just become natural now. So if you work on these patterns at first, slowly, methodically, they're going to seem very stiff at first, but then you're going to see that it'll really open up your playing. So, number 1, accents on the beat. This is pretty straightforward, simple, but it's a good introduction to accents. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. And of course, all these patterns, you can play the pattern over and over and over, but I like to break it up at the time. Number 2, again, I show you this slow motion on the YouTube video of adding accents, so I'm not going to do too much slow motion right now. But 1, 2, 3, 4. Putting the time in there. Of course, you can use rim shots for the accents. That makes it interesting, but don't get in the habit of doing that all the time. Now, if you look at my other YouTube video that's listed right in here, 2 simple steps to spice up your triplet solo fills. Pickup notes are super simple. So if I play pattern number 2, and I'm going to put 1 triplet or 1 swing 8th note pickup with the left hand before I start number 2, it makes it much more interesting. 1, 2, 3, and. I explain that more in depth in the 2 simple tips to spice up your triplet solos. If I combine 1 and 2, so if I play 2 bars at a time, then 1 and then 2, listen to this. 1, 2, 3, 4. It up from there. I wouldn't play necessarily 2 measures back to back like that, but that's good exercise to work on. Number 3 now, and actually 3 through 6, uses some different stickings, and this is definitely getting a little more advanced. At first, young students might say, well, why do I need to use this sticking? But it's something good to use. So number 3 is right, left, left, right, left, left. It gives you another tool to get around the set. So slow motion. This pretty fast though, because if you can do double strokes, the left, it's going along pretty fast. So if I do this, 1, 2, 3, 4, you can move that right hand around the beat, or around the set, excuse me. Number 4 reverses it, so now it's right, right, left. Well, if you play number 4, it's going to sound like number 2, but it's another pattern you can play. So, number 5, again, I'm going pretty fast through there. You won't take time to work on these. Number 5 just plays 1 measure 3, 1 measure 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Definitely an exercise. We're not going to play a solo of that over and over and over. But say if I take that and I put my right hand on tom-toms. Great exercise, develop more facility. Okay, now we're getting into some just random patterns, and I've just given you a few patterns here. Look at number 7. We have an accent on 1, and then our alternating accents in the triplets in 3 and 4 gives us the feeling of a quarter note triplet, or if you want a 3 against 2. So if I play this fairly slow, 1, 2, number 7. Again, I wouldn't play that alone for a fill or a solo, but it gives you a good skill to incorporate more syncopation you're playing. 1, 2, 3, 4. I put it with the time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Be kind of interesting. Okay, look at number 8. Slowly. faster with the time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Number 9 is like number 7, similar to number 7. We accent 1 and 2, and then alternate, and then that last accent is displaced. So look, we have if I put that a little faster with the time, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're getting into some more advanced things here, but working on accents can make your playing pretty interesting. Look at number 10. So, slow motion. It's just a matter of working this out slowly. You can find books, examples of all sorts of accent patterns. This is something to get you started. Number 10 with the time. 1, 2, 3, 4. So, a good introduction to accents. Okay, number 11 to the bottom of the page is throwing in some 16th notes. And this can sound just plain wrong if you're using it too much or in the wrong place. But right now, let's look at number 11 as a timing exercise. I would definitely practice this with the metronome. I would practice one measure at a time at first, then you can try it over and over if you want. But most students will tend to rush the 16th notes when they're going from the 3s to the 4s. But it's good for developing a little more sophistication in your sense of timing. So if I play number 11, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'll play it a little bit faster and with the time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Incorporating some 16th notes in your jazz playing can be like using a little bit of spice. It can make it interesting, it can spice it up. If it's used incorrectly or inappropriately, it can be like, wow, what was that? You know, it's like you might like a little Tabasco sauce on spicy food. You pour a little Tabasco sauce in a cup of milk and it's not going to be too appropriate or too good. So be careful how you use this. Number 11 follows the exact same rhythm as number 12 follows the same rhythm as number 11, but now I'm voicing it around the drums. But think, my triplets are right, left, my 16th notes are right, right. So right, left, right, right. Listen to it slowly. With the bass drum hi-hat, 1, 2, 3, 4. By itself, pretty stiff, pretty square. We put it with the time a little faster. 1, 2, 3, 4. Definitely not a pattern I'd repeat over and over. An exercise now to practice over and over to develop your sense of time would be good. Well, look, number 13, we're starting to add some offbeat accents. So, number 13, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, gets a little more interesting with the accents. Number 14 is a perfect example of how we can take the exact same rhythm, but how we voice it on the drums, how we divide up where we're changing drums can make it interesting. So number 14, really slow. Well, let's just look at the 16ths first. So I'm playing 2 16ths on 3, and then 4 16ths going from the middle of 3 to the beginning of 4. So it makes it more interesting if I put it with the accents, the triplets. With the bass drum and the hi-hat, 1, 2, 3, 4. faster with the time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, everything we've done so far has been focused on jazz playing. We're going to touch on rock for just a minute at the end. Now, with the jazz playing, the time is led by the ride cymbal and the hi-hat. In rock, it's led by the bass drum and the snare drum. So we need to play the bass drum much stronger. I've had a lot of students over the years that have been really wimpy about using their feet, so we don't want to be unmusical about it, but the bass drum is going to kick a lot harder, the kick drum, and the snare drum backbeat is extremely important. I'm breaking it down extremely simple, but I'm saying there are 4 basic rock grooves to get started, and then you want to explore tons of other opportunities. But number 1, this is on the PDF, page 6. It's just 4 on the floor bass drum. Bass drum is playing strong. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, ready, and. So as we're playing this, any of these patterns could be played on the ride cymbal also, and then hi-hat with the foot on 2 and 4. We want to be careful that we don't get flams between the hands or the feet. It's got to be exactly together. So I could play. Number 2, the bass drum is only on 1 and 3. And with these patterns, a lot of the young drummers will say, well, I like to play this way, I like to play this way. It doesn't matter what you like. You have to be able to play all these patterns. So these are just the basic patterns to start off. So number 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, number 3 puts an 8th note leading into and 3. So 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, and 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Notice I'm playing much stronger now with the bass drum and really smacking that backbeat on 2 and 4. I could play number 3 again on the ride cymbal with the hi-hat on 2 and 4 with the foot. Okay, number 4 is similar to number 3, but the 8th notes instead of and 3 are playing 3 and. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Number 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I've listed 4 basic rock fill patterns. These are just sticking patterns, again, to develop good fundamental technique. We're not always going to go clockwise around the drums. We're not always going to start on 1 and end nice and neat on 4. I'm doing this right now to develop, again, technique. So I'm using 16th notes. I'm alternating, leading with the right, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. I'm going to leave, well, at first I would leave the hi-hat out on 2 and 4 and play just the bass drum. And then you can work at the control of adding the hi-hat. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just the idea, again, that more is not always better. Start off simple, give your students a chance to be successful, and we can add more. Look, number 6 follows the same sticking pattern we had in number 5, but now right, left, right, right, left, right, right, left, right, right. 1 EN, 2 EN, 3 EN, 4. Number 7 is just reversed. 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4. Number 8 gets a little more sophisticated, but 8 again follows the sticking pattern we learned in 5, but now we have this little bit of syncopation. And I would really be strict with your students. Follow that pattern for now with the feet. After you can do that, I would say play 5, 6, 7, 8. 5, 6, 7, 8. I'll do that through the cycle once here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, we're not going to always play clockwise around the drums. I'm ending right now on beat 4 so I can get back to my time. I highly recommend Tommy Igoe's Groove Essentials. It's a book, DVD, and online music package. It's very good. I got to tell you, it's not a beginning method at all. But if you've gone through your students with basic jazz time, like I've started you with, is the basic rock beats, starting to play some fills, they can start playing along some of this. This is open-ended. There's so many advanced things in here you could study forever on this, but there are also basic things that students can play along with. The play-along tracks are very beneficial, and I'm demonstrating now a rock track and a jazz track, and what I'm doing, I'm just playing along, following the form of the song, and I'm practicing playing 4-bar phrases with a fill every measure, or every 4 bars. What I'm doing is I'm taking the basic patterns in a rock style and in a jazz style, and I'm using some of the patterns that I introduced earlier in the clinic, but I'm mixing things up and varying it, because our goal is not to just regurgitate these patterns that we're learning, but to use those patterns to develop a technique around the drums, gain control of the drums, and start to develop our own vocabulary. There's no substitute for listening, copying, absorbing styles from other drummers.
Groove 4, slow. Groove 18, slow.
Thanks for checking out my clinic. I hope this was helpful for you. Remember, these are all just tips and guidelines. This is just one approach to getting started on drums. There really aren't any hard set rules. So I hope this helps you. If you have any questions, please contact me. My email address is in the IBA directory, so shoot me a question. I'll help you in any way I can. Good luck.